I'm going to show how to use RPT to create a virtual application to access database in 5 minutes. So in the first step, we will create a EGL backend project to access database. So we already defined a payment table in the backend DB2. So we will name this project as payment service. And just finished. We have the service project now. And next we will connect our EGL project to a database. So if you already define, you can step here. If we don't have the database definition, we can define here. And we have a database in the remote Linux machine in this address, and we need to enter the username and password. So after all config, we try to text connection to a database. So it says connection succeed. So click finish. We have the database set up, and it is also connected to our project by specifying here. So we will also do that for the debug build options. So now, after connect to the database, the next step we will create a EGL record, which is an EGL path to store the row of the data from database. We will name it payment record. Okay, so in this template, the default record is a base record, but as we are using to connect to database, we will need to change it to SQL record, and we'll specify which table we are going to connect to. So the table name is payment, and EGL provide a tool to retrieve SQL schema information. So by one click, the EGL record is automatically created by the information stored in the database. Now, next, we will create a service to retrieve all the data from database. We name it SQL service. Let's delete the unreadable template. So in this demo, we will only have one service function to retrieve all the records from database. So we then will get all payments, and it will return a list of payment record. And in the function body, we will write the logic for how to retrieve data. It is just as simple as typing a get statement. Then the data is filled into the payment array, and we will return this payment array to the caller. Return. Yeah, so the backend has done in 2 minutes. And after this, we will need to create a UI. So we are going to create a client project for the UI. In which UI we provide different widget sets for different style of UI. So in this sample, we select Bootstrap Widgets. And in the UI, we'll need to create a rich UI handler. And then this as payment handler. This will be the main UI of our application. And we will use Bootstrap Widget layout to provide a responsive UI. And in RPD, there is a visual editor tool. In this tool, we can specify the properties easily. And in the UI, we plan to have 3 rows. And at the top row, we will have a button. By clicking this button, we will try to load the data from the database. So we let the button have the text load data. And in the second node, we will put a spinner there, which will indicate if a node database is still loading. So we will stack the color style. Okay, then in the third node, we will have a data table to display the data gotten from the database. So firstly, we will need to define a record array. And as the record array is defined in payment service, so we need to depend on it. And then we create a new EGL record array of payment. This array will store the data we are getting from the database. So here we have the payments, and by dragging it into the palette with the Bootstrap data table, we can generate a table in one step. So now the UI is already composed. The next step is to connect the UI to the service. So we will have a click handler for this button. By clicking the button, we will call the service and retrieve the data. So here we will need to define a service. This is used to retrieve data. And when we click the button, we'll firstly make the spinner spinning, and then we'll call the service to get data. And after getting, it will returning to a callback method. And if there is exception on the way, there is on exception callback. Okay, so there is another tool to create a callback functions for us. It's very handy. And after the data is loaded from the database, we will just simply feed the data into the data table to display. And then we make the spinner disappear. It in the visual editor preview pane. Now all done, and we can test it in the visual editor preview pane. Okay, so after load the data, so we create the data access application in 5 minutes. Thanks.